It's Friday, October 12th, 2012, and let's talk about what happened this week over at xdadevelopers.com. First off, some update news, and some relatively big news. This week, Android version 4.1.2 officially hit the Android open source project, and it's already been merged into CyanogenMod 10. So what's new with version 4.1.2? Not a whole lot. The Nexus 7 has been given the landscape ability on its launcher so that you can actually turn it sideways and use it that way. Not sure if other devices are going to be getting that or not. I would certainly hope so, because for devices like the Galaxy Nexus running Android 4.1.1, when they get updated, it would be nice to be able to use that launcher in landscape mode. I can only assume that that's going to be the case, but it's entirely likely that it will only be on tablet-sized devices. And the other big interesting feature about 4.1.2 is that it comes with one-touch notification expansion, one-touch everything in terms of the notification center, not two-finger like it was for a while there. So if you have notifications, you want to expand them, you just one finger, make them larger, make them smaller, things like that. You can expand and collapse multiple ones at the same time. It's a very new and interesting way of doing things. And additionally, if you didn't do anything to your Nexus 7, if you just left it with the stock firmware, everything out of the box, it should have received the 4.1.2 update over the air. Now, if you have a custom recovery and you're unlocked and rooted already, but you still have the stock firmware on it, you can still retain that unlocked rooted status with this update. At least that's what's being reported in the thread. Additionally, this week a couple of other devices saw CyanogenMod ports become available, although not official ones. The Samsung Galaxy Blaze 4G, which I believe is the Galaxy S2 for T-Mobile, received ports of CyanogenMod 9 and 10 this week. The CM9 port for the Blaze 4G is supposed to be extremely stable. The only real problem is that when you rotate it, there's a little bit of lagginess, but that's really not a huge deal. Unfortunately, the CM10 ports, not really great. There seem to be some random reboots, freezing up, all sorts of things that would make it not exactly be ready to be a daily driver. These were developed by different people, so there are different sets of bugs and different things that could happen over the course of the future updates. However, a bit of good news, apparently that CM10 port for the Blaze 4G is also capable of running on the Samsung Gallery Exhilarate. It just required a couple of kernel tweaks. Now, unfortunately about that, those same sort of bugs that exist on the 4G Blaze also exist on the Exhilarate. But that means there are two sets of eyes looking at it, so potentially these bugs could be fixed a little faster than if just one set of eyes or the other were looking at them. For more details on either of those ROMs, or any of the three ROMs technically, go ahead and check out the development threads. You can find the link to the story down in the video description. Moving on to some other development news. One of the big problems a lot of newer devices are having is that they come with the Exynos system on a chip. A lot of the other newer chips, like the Tegra 3, and I'm not going to even try to remember any of the other ones, have proper documentation available, so it's very easy, relatively easy at least, to get proper ports of things going for them, at least to get things started, to develop for them. However, like I said, the Exynos processor, not quite the same. Well, according to the Samsung Exynos Twitter, it turns out they are aware of the problem, they're aware that the community is kind of pissed off about it. They say they're discussing it with their team and they will update us soon. However, according to XDA Elite recognized developer Entropy512, they kind of have a history of saying that when they don't quite want to release things, so they'll say release coming soon and then nothing ever actually happens. It just kind of gets swept under the rug. And that honestly is a bit of a shame. When a company is sort of going out of their way not to release the documentation, not to release specifications, and actually the thing I didn't mention here is they're driving developers away from developing for this platform. Specifically, Team Hacksung and the CyanogenMod team have said that they're not going to be supporting them in the future unless documentation comes out. That really does nothing but hurt the community, and really it's hurting your devices, it's hurting your sales. Why would the company not say, oh wait a minute, we really ought to go ahead and do this thing that we're supposed to do? It's all about responsibility, and if you're not going to take responsibility for a product and for something that you have promised to the community, whatever. And now for something completely different. If you have ever wanted to dabble in network penetration testing, security testing, things like that, there are of course security frameworks for your PC, for Mac, for Windows and Linux and everything else like that. However, up to this point, there hasn't really been anything useful for Android. Until now. XDA forum member Evil Socket has put together an application called Desploit, which is a comprehensive set of tools for Android used in network penetration and security testing. That means that you can scan networks, you can look for vulnerabilities on systems on the network, you can perform man-in-the-middle attacks, all from your Android device. And the only real requirements are that you must be running Gingerbread or higher and you must be rooted. And honestly, that is a lot of devices at this point. That actually kind of makes me want to pull my old Droid X out of the box, turn it on, and Yeah, no, I will not do that at work. Now, on the other side of that, there are some malicious things out there in the world that we just can't do a whole lot about, right? Case in point, a toolkit called P2P ADB was released by a guy named Cause recently, which essentially, if your device is rooted and you've left USB debugging turned on, it can do nasty things to your device. It can bypass your lock screen, make system changes, allow the attacker to get access to your Google account. Anyway, lots of not fun, nasty stuff. But XDA Elite recognized developer Sterikson saw that this was a problem, and he wrote an app to fix it, at least to sort of bandage it. The app is called ADBD Secure, and essentially what it does is if you have a lock on your phone, if you have a PIN or password or face unlock or anything like that, when your phone is turned off, when the screen is locked, anything like that, it will turn off ADBD. Now the other side of that is when you have your phone unlocked, it's going to go ahead and turn it all back on. But for most people, if you have it enabled, you have it enabled for a reason. You want it on when the phone is enabled. The only catch to that is, of course, you do have to have a lock enabled on your lock screen. You have to have a PIN, a password, a face lock, whatever. But really, again, that's kind of what the whole vulnerability gets around. It uses that lock screen and works its way around it, even if it has a PIN or a password on it. So very useful application. If you are that kind of person that has a rooted device and does leave USB debugging on, you may want to look into it, or you may just want to turn USB debugging off when you're not actually going to use it. Either way, the app is available on Google Play and the sources are available on GitHub. Thank you very much for making it open source. That's awesome. Feel free to read up on it in the forum thread and leave the author some comments there. And the last story I'm going to talk about, I wanted to talk about this story as soon as I heard about it before I saw it appear on XDA. But now that I've seen it appear on XDA and I see the thumbnail that's associated with it, I have to talk about it. If you don't remember, and you probably do, Apple managed to get a sale ban on the Galaxy Nexus in the US. That's been a little while back, and you haven't been able to actually buy a Galaxy Nexus for a while. Well, apparently the appeal that Google filed against Apple has finally been heard. The appeals court is reverting the decision, at least until Apple takes them back to court over it again, because you know it's going to happen. But if you've been holding out, waiting for that Galaxy Nexus device that you haven't been able to get for a little while now you can. But if nothing else, what this does show is that decisions like this that seem terrible at the time can be overturned in the long run. So I don't know, that $1 billion judgment against Samsung could be overturned, especially if it turns out that the foreman on the jury was as big an idiot as he seemed, which it turns out he probably was. Yeah, there was a whole big article on Grok Law about that and about all of his prejudices and biases, but that doesn't have anything to do with the story at hand. Sorry, just throwing that out there. Anyway, that's about all the news for today. If you haven't already seen them, there were 2 other videos posted on XDA this week. First one by Azrenock is talking all about Motorola, and it's specifically titled Motorola, This Is Why We Broke Up With You, and it's talking all about Motorola's, the things they have done in the last few years that we really do not like. And on Thursday, TK put out another app review, this time showing you how to gain access to your Android's SD card using Wi-Fi Explorer. So do make sure to check those videos out if you haven't seen them already, you may like them. But that's going to be all from me for today. As always, thank you so much for watching. Make sure to hit that like button down below if you like this video, and subscribe if you want to receive our content as soon as it becomes available, and I will see you on Monday.